Hello, lovely people. Welcome back for PowerPoint lecture number 2 of our new semester as we continue on in Chapter 9. This time coming from my own lovely apartment out here in Benbrook, Texas. Please excuse my look. I have no makeup on. Been on the ranch all morning, and horses don't care if you wear makeup or not, as long as you feed or throw their feed in their stall for breakfast and turn them out in the pasture. So, I have my huge cup of coffee, as we do see, ready to go, and let's go ahead and continue on in Chapter 9, Part 2. Don't forget, it is a 3-part lecture, so I'm going to try and get your third one up today as well, or at least record your third one up to get their third one up today. They take a little while since I figured out how to get the big ones up on YouTube. They take a little bit while to upload, but I'll at least get it recorded, so at the worst, I can get it. I'll get this one up today, and I'll get the next one up tomorrow, hopefully. If not today as well. But anywho, so that way we can get completely through the rest of Chapter 9, Part 2, and be on track for Chapter 11 next week. Don't forget, Chapter 10 book quiz, done by today, done by today, done by today. At midnight, so don't forget about it. Anywho, let us pick up, because I don't have to give you a 0. I mean, well, I have to. I don't want to. Please don't make me. Please don't make me. But let's continue on in Chapter 9, get as far as we can, and then later on I'll finish up recording the last part of this. Damn. My dogs might be up here on the couch with me here in a minute. But let's continue on and get as far as we can. So, we hit, in my mother's beautiful backyard a few days ago, we hit Jefferson. Jefferson and his election in 1800, hashtag the revolution of 1800, right? Good stuff. We also hit the Burr and Hamilton duel. We hit Jefferson's first term. Still considered one of the greatest first-term presidents in all of American history. Just throwing that out there. But we hit the Hamilton-Burr duel. Alexander Hamilton was in fact killed in that infamous duel by Aaron Burr. You know, they made this whole... Hamilton is such a fascinating character. I mean, they made this whole freaking Broadway play over it, right? As well as they should. It's brilliant. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. But, anywho, Jefferson, long story short, has gone down up until this point as he's finishing up his first term. One of the best first terms ever. Don't forget, international relations with Britain and France, who were at war with each other and not happy with the United States, are better than they have been under both of our former presidents, Washington and Adams. We have, the economy is skyrocketing. He is absolutely taking care of the American people. He is taking care of the American economy. The people are in love with him. Not everyone. He does have his hypocrites. He does have his opposers. As we talked about, however, all of his opposers, he just lets their criticism flow off his back like it's no big deal. Presidency has become a much greater suit of armor than anything we've seen with him before was. And not to mention it, so he's got politicians working well together. The economy is flowing well. International relations are better than, they're not great, but they're better than they have been. And then also in his first term, he doubles the size of the country, which does in fact lead us to the Louisiana Purchase, right? So, Hamilton, don't forget, is a president, and he's a man of the small farmer. He is a man of the average Joes, the use-and-me's, the small business, regular job, regular countrymen, so on and so forth. And if Jefferson had his way, this entire country would be a country of utopian farmers. Hands down, no-brainer. He would love to see this country be nothing but small business and utopian farms. That is his vision for it. Realistic or not, it is his vision for it. But regardless, since he has this big dream and aspiration of it, when this thing called the Louisiana Purchase comes to be, it's an answer to his prayers, it's the answer to his vision, on top of many other things. But how do we do this man who's going to double the size of the United States in his first term? Like, holy crap, right? How does he do it? It all starts because of this small little port. If you look in the PowerPoint I have listed for you online, you will see the map I have, which, not only shows the size of the Louisiana Purchase, it looks something like, I can get it to show on my camera. No, it's not going to show on my camera. Well, that's a sad day. Anywho, it's in your PowerPoint. But it also shows the Mississippi River down with this little port called the Port of New Orleans, which, ironically enough, starts this whole thing off, right? Because again, try one more time. Is it going to work? No, it's just not going to work. Okay. So, the Louisiana Purchase is going to be all the land that is owned right now by France. Well, don't forget, France is desperate for money to fight this war with Britain, right? They're running out of resources, they're running out of money. And also, let's be honest, by this point, France has, yes, they've owned this land for a long time. They've lost interest, however, in doing anything with it. Their initial interest of what's inside North America has, at this point, gone null and void. So they have all this land that they've lost interest in. They're desperate for money. But not only that, when they, don't forget, in the Piniquis Treaty way back in the day, France had given Louisiana to Spain for their role they played in the French and Indian Wars, right? We gained Florida from Spain, Spain gains Louisiana from the French. When Louisiana belonged to the Spanish and the United States they had a very healthy relationship, and especially as we're forming out states like South Carolina and the Missouri Territory and Tennessee. All those southern farmers were who were growing their crops and having their plantations along the Mississippi were being allowed by Spain to use the Port of New Orleans to ship all of their exported goods, the goods that have been bought by other countries, to ship their goods out of New Orleans and over to Europe. So instead of having to trek across the entire country to somewhere like Charleston, South Carolina, across the entire country at this point, to send their products out to Europe that way by coast, they've been going down the Mississippi to New Orleans and shipping their goods from New Orleans down the Mississippi River off into the Gulf of Mexico into Europe that way. So being able to use New Orleans for American shipping, or the Port of New Orleans for American shipping, has been very, very crucial for American Southern agriculture and the economy. But in Piniquis Treaty, long story short, Spain no longer has the interest, long story short, inside New Orleans. Long story, and altogether, New Orleans will return home to the French. And while things have been better with the French than they had been under Adams in Washington, France is still not our best friend. France still doesn't really like us. France really couldn't care less about us at this point. And they're not just going to let us use the Port of New Orleans because we feel we need it. They're not just going to let us use it out of the goodness of our hearts. We didn't join this war on their behalf out of the goodness of our hearts. Why should they do anything for us, right? Kind of their mentality, and you gotta admit, it kind of makes sense, right? So long story short, when France regains control of New Orleans and Louisiana, they're going to shut down the Port of New Orleans to all American shipping. We are no longer allowed to use it, and if we want to do sell any of our products and ship them over to Europe, when we do have to, they say, well, then trek back across your country, go, send them out of one of your own ports. I got some distance in between my coffee table and my coffee cup. There we go. So, but with the port shut down, it is just a slap in the face. It is a critical loss to the economy in the southern, the southwest portion of the United States. But since we do have this kind of open connection with France and Napoleon, and Jefferson does have a little bit of a tie, a little bit of a better relationship, he says, look, let me work this out. France, we all know France needs money to continue to fight this war with Britain. Just don't worry about it. I'm going to send a delegate over to France. We're going to offer to buy it. We're going to let them name their price. We'll even let them hold on to New Orleans. We just want the port. We just want the right to be able to ship our products and our goods out of New Orleans. And we'll pay them whatever price they want for it. We know they need money. It's a deal that they want, that they're not going to take, right? We know they'll take it. So he sends a delegate over to France to negotiate the selling of the Port of New Orleans. Well, can you imagine when this delegate comes back and says, President Jefferson, not only is Napoleon willing to sell us the Port of New Orleans, he's willing to sell us the entire Louisiana territory. Which again, map in my PowerPoint. Apparently I can't show you on my phone, it's not going to work on my camera, but again, you get the point. He's willing to sell us the entire Louisiana territory. Now, if you were in class, I would say, why? Why would he be willing to sell us a piece of land that would double the size of our entire country we've been forming since, we formed the 13 colonies back in the 1600s? Why would he be willing to freaking do that? Well, for reasons I've already technically mentioned up to this point. A, they've lost interest in really doing anything inside North America at this point. B, they're not interested in settling the land at this point. C, they need money. D, they're hoping it would really strengthen this friendship between the two. Maybe then we will come over, but maybe, it'll help better relations between the two. Not only that, Napoleon also can see a bigger future. He can see a better future. He can see, and he says, I have given England a maritime rival who will sooner or later humble her pride. He can see the bigger picture. He can see the fact that if he doubles the size of the United States, eventually Ruby, he'll double our size, it'll eventually double our stability, it'll double our power, it'll double our strength, it'll double our possibility. No country up until this point has ever been able to bring down Britain. Napoleon says, if I do this, we'll create a country that might be able to be the first country in the world to defeat Britain. And that sure would be a good ally to have in times of need, right? So there's all sorts of reasons that go into this melting pot of why Napoleon decides to do this. Long story short, he does. And in exchange for $24 million, we will gain roughly, now there's different numbers out there. We're going to go with an estimate of what's in my book, which is 828,000 miles of territory. Now, I think your book differ. I'm not going to ask you on a test because, again, there's different accounts that number differs a little bit. But it's well over 800,000. So we're 800, you'll see the number 828,000 miles of territory in my book. If they differ a little bit in other settings, do not worry about it. No one can quite seem to agree on the number. But it gives you an idea. It doubles, literally, whether it's 828 or 812, whatever the case may be. It doubles the size of the United States. And we double the size of our country for $24 million. That ain't bad, people. But now we have technically around over 800,000 miles of territory. We don't have a clue what's from all the mile. We've never been there before. We have no idea what to experience or what to expect. We have no idea who/what is where. And if we're going, now that with this move, it's double the size of our country, we need to know what we're getting into, right? Hence, it'll lead to this expedition called the Lewis and Clark Expedition. Which you will have Meriwether Lewis and you will have William Clark, who are two military men. William Clark, where is my slide? I keep looking up and down for. Here we go. Captain Meriwether Lewis and Second Lieutenant William Clark. There we go. Both military men who will lead an expedition for 2 years across this brand new territory. Now, we refer to the Lewis and Clark Expedition as the Lewis and Clark Expedition because Meriwether Lewis and William Clark led it. To everyone else, though, in that day and age, the official name of it was the Corps, C-O-R-P-S, the Corps of Discovery. That was the legitimate name given to this trek by President Jefferson. We refer to it as a Lewis and Clark Expedition because we like it better. But it's like a great test question. The actual name was the Corps of Discovery. It's like everything else in history, we're just going to rename it, right? Because we do what we want, as it does in Paraseem. So Lewis and Clark are chosen to lead this. And this leads to the trek that we all grow up learning. You had Lewis and Clark in Sacagawea with that baby strapped on her back, and the three of them towering this territory together for 2 years. But let's be really honest for a minute. Does that make a whole heck of a lot of sense? The answer to that should be no. It does. No. No, will she be a part of this? Of course she will be. But is it just those three alone? Heck no. Don't think so. Does it make sense to send 2 men out into an area the size of your current country by themselves? Hell no. Not so much. So, there's actually about 33 others that will go with them. Lewis Clark and 33 others. There's a bigger group of people than you realize, but led by the 2 men. So, in that first year, it may take them several months to even meet Sacagawea. So, May of 1804. So, he gets reelected in 1804, the last year of his first term. They will begin their expedition, which, by the way, he gets elected in a landslide. As again, we'll talk about here a little bit more later on. But, and so they go out. And so, for the first, they leave in May until about November or so. You know, it's pretty standard. Again, everywhere they go, they're met with surprise because, again, they don't have a clue what's where. They don't have a clue who's where. They don't have a clue what's what to expect, where water sources are, where where wilderness is going to be, where wild animals are going to be, Indians are going to be. They're having to learn it all the hard way. But I'll tell you what they do is they map every dang mile they go to, what's there, and what they discover. I mean, they map this thing out so brilliantly, it's insane. But it's hard. The first 6 months are probably the hardest. But come winter of 1804, again, they're winter. We're talking in, this is a guesstimation, but kind of like the Wyoming, Montana-ish area, close to the Canadian border. And obviously, it is winter. Like, we didn't fight the revolution throughout winter, because, just saying. It's not ideal trekking conditions. You wait out bad weather until spring. Well, same thing. It makes no sense for them to scour this territory under 15 feet of snow, right? Go with me. So, but as when the weather is getting harsher and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do, they come across a French fort, which has been built basically on the Canadian-American border. And they seek silo, they seek refuge to wait out the winter, which they do. They're welcomed in by the French to wait out the winter of 1804. And it's while they're there, they meet a Native American woman by the name of Sacagawea. And her husband, she's married. It's a perfect example of Indian and French intermarrying. For she's married to a Frenchman by the name of Toussaint Charabanou. And Sacagawea is pregnant with their first child, to whom she gives birth. As over the winter of 1804, come January, February of 1805. Not exactly sure what month, but during that winter, those winter months, Sacagawea gives birth. Meriwether Lewis helps deliver her baby. Hopefully Toussaint was holding her hand or something at least, right? Passing out the cigars. But she gives birth to her first child, who is a son. His official name is Jean-Baptiste Charabanou. But they refer to him better as Pomp or Pompey was his nickname. And, sorry, my screen looks really blurry there for a minute to me. Anyway, come spring, time to travel. They do ask, they kind of checked out where they have been, where they still have to go. She does offer assistance, and she will help them, and it was, a lot in those first few months as they scour the northern territory where the weather is good. She's not far from a home. And she is with them day to day for a portion of time while they are up north. But when they head south in kind of mid-summer-ish of 1805, she's not going to go with them every single day. Because let's be honest, does it make sense for a woman who's just given birth, not long before, in a 2-3-month-old infant, strapped on her back, to trek across this country with Americans in a country she doesn't even belong to? No. So up north, around, in the statewide territory around her home, yes, she is with them, and she is with them throughout the north. They go south, not so much. She's going to stay back. But she does give them information on what to expect as they travel, as they continue forward. She can basically tell them what they're going to find where, what type of tribes are going to be where, what areas to, stay away from, because tribes will be hostile, and, what areas are sandy, what areas are deserty, what areas are dry and humid, the forests, etc., etc. And literally, once, it's so much easier of a trek when she's with them. And then even when she's not, when she stays behind, she offers such geographical help that the second year of their expedition is 10 times easier than their first year. And if she's not with them, but they are not far from her, and they come across Indians that are friendly, which she said, hey, these will be friendly to you, but again, communication is a problem. They would send someone for her. She would come to this Indian camp and act as a translator during their time with these Indians, and then she would go home, back home. So it's not as cut and dry, clear cut as history tries to make it seem, where she had that baby on her back with them the entire time. Not so much. She did kind of go and come as time went on. But they still, their second year after leaving her, was so much easier than their first year. When they get back to the United States, they just sing her praises and glorify her to President Jefferson and said this would have probably taken another year without her. She knocked a year off our track, and why we were able to do this so quickly and so well was because of her. And I mean, they just praise her to President Jefferson and ask President Jefferson to reward her for the service that she did not have to do. Again, she was a stranger they just happened to meet, and absolutely changed the course of this whole measure for them. So they ask him to praise her, give her some type of credit, which he does. As the Missouri Territory is being carved out, President Jefferson will offer Sacagawea and her husband, her family, Toussaint Jean-Baptiste, land in the in St. Louis, Missouri. A huge chunk of land as a thank you, to which they do take. They move to the United States. They do end up moving to the United States. Sacagawea and her husband live here for a couple of years. She becomes pregnant with their second child, but then Toussaint will develop, and it's either smallpox or influenza. It's one of the two. All you do is say one and it's the other. But he did smallpox or influenza. I want to say influenza, but it's probably smallpox. Anywho, he will actually end up getting sick, and he will pass away. Toussaint, her husband, Sacagawea's husband, will pass away before the birth of their first child. But Sacagawea does give birth to her second child. Well, this time it's a girl. Her name is Lizette. But even Sacagawea will not live to see her children make it to adulthood, unfortunately, for she's about 25 years old, only 25 years old, and Lizette's about 2 years old at this point. But long story short, Sacagawea also will get sick, and unlike her husband, where they were able to pinpoint that specific illness / virus / disease that he did in fact get, they couldn't do that with her. She got sick. She developed this huge, horrific fever, and everything that they did, everything they knew to do, didn't work. That fever just got higher and higher and higher. I mean, it could have been some type of viral or infection, bacterial infection. Again, we just don't know. But she kept getting sicker. She had got this huge putrid fever, and they were never able to get it down. And again, she got sicker and sicker, and her fever got higher and higher. And she stayed so sick with such a high fever for so long that eventually it'll cause a blood vessel in her brain to burst, and she'll have a brain aneurysm. And that will be what kills her. Is she dies from a brain aneurysm from this putrid fever that she got, and no one knows what exactly from. So it's sad. It's really, really, really sad. She does not have a long end to their life. But now she also has 2 children, right? She's got both of her children who are now orphaned Indian / alien children inside the United States. And she had got, once she moved to the United States, she and her family got very, very close to William Clark. And Clark was really worried about what was going to happen to her children after her passing. So, after she passed, William Clark went to the then president, James Madison, in 1812, was when he was elected, right? But going to the then president, James Madison, and I said, look, I know there's a lot of red tape. I know this is not going to be easy. I know there's a lot, of bridges to jump here, but I want to legally adopt her children. And I want to raise her children. Can we make that happen? Is that possible? To which he said, of course, we'll figure it out, right? So, Clark, long story short, Clark, after she passes away, will end up raising her children to adulthood. So, doesn't live a long life, but still gets this praise, absolutely praise, because this trek ended up only taking them 2 years, and they said because of her. In which, in that 2-year time, they did meet 50 new Indian tribes. They had no idea existed before this. Some friendly, some not, shockingly. They also discovered over 300 new different types of species of plant and animal, per se. They had no idea, guys, the black bear existed. They had no idea the grizzly bear existed. They're so cute. Don't pet them. Just saying. They had no idea the mountain lion existed. It's so cute. Do not pet it. I'm just saying. Right? So 300 different species of plant and animal, 50 new Indian tribes. And they too will be praised and glorified because now, literally every single mile of Louisiana Purchase, we know exactly what's where. water, desert, mountain, flat, streams, rivers, forests, etc., all thanks to them in this expedition. And Jefferson will praise them too. He will highly, massively praise them after returning home. But it's interesting, while they did this great, tremendous feat together, one of them had a long, happy, brilliant end to the rest of his life. The other not so much. One of them will thrive after returning home. The other will down spiral. Meriwether Lewis would be the individual who down spiraled. He is a military man. Again, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here. Here we go. Yep. He's a military man. He's not a politician. But still, when he returns home, Lincoln. Don't ask me where that came from. Oh my lord, that's hilarious. Jefferson decides to praise him. He's given about 1,400 acres of land or so up inside, again, to the Missouri Territory. And he's also named the governor of the whole entire Missouri Territory, which is a huge honor. It's a huge promotion, right? But again, he is a military man. He's never really been a politician, and he unfortunately proves just to be this really ineffective, poor leader. He does not get along well with others. He doesn't play well with others. He's always right. He's kind of got a temper. He doesn't always make the best decisions. It's his way or the highway. And he will down spiral. I mean, he will fight. He will start to drink heavily. Oh, by the way, another funny story is from the day he gets back, he's already having a hard time. For when he returns home, he's been injured on this trek. One of the 33 men who was chosen to go on this trek apparently lied on their resume. One of the men who went on the expedition was blind in his left eye and didn't tell anybody. Because if he had told somebody he was blind in his left eye, most likely he would not have been able to go, right? So, this man is blind, and of course, things have been fine. It hadn't hindered him whatsoever until on the way home, you got 33 men. You have to eat. You cannot live off of vegetation when you're doing that type of physical work, right? You need protein, which means you have to hunt and kill animals to eat. And on the way home, this specific day, they're coming across this antelope herd. They come across this deer herd. And then, Lewis will take several men with him. They're going to go out hunting to catch and kill some food to eat. One of the men he takes with him as they track this deer herd is, in fact, Lewis. Is in fact the man who went with Lewis is the one who's blind in his left eye. They get him check at this deer antelope herd. They get split up, etc., etc. And they say, split up, and, we'll spread out. And the man who's blind in one eye, as they're all hunting this herd, sees something shoot across the field, to his left, to the side of his blind. And thinking it's the deer, he's going to turn, he's going to fire. But it's not the deer. It's Lewis. And he hits him straight through the kneecap. Bullet hits him straight in the knee. Shatters his kneecap, does all sorts of damage, right? So now he's massively injured. I mean, it's not a fatal, it's a long way from the heart, right? Thankfully, didn't hit an artery. But still, he's out in the middle of nowhere. He can't walk on it. So for a little bit, they hoist together this stretcher, and they're going to haul him across the countryside. But that's not going to last long because he's heavy, right? So eventually they hoist him in these crutches, and he's forced to walk on this injured knee. Basically, he's got to get himself home. So he has to walk on it, and he does so much damage to it, long story short. He does so much damage to it that once he does get home, he sees a doctor and it heals. When it does heal, he'll never be able to straighten it out all the way. It'll always stay bent. So, for the rest of his life, he walks with this Igor-like limp because he can't straighten out his knee. Moral to the story, make sure you don't take a blind man hunting, right? Bless his heart. So he's already wounded, he's already in critical pain, so he starts drinking a lot, which he says to deal with the pain. But then he's fighting with everybody, he doesn't get along, he down spirals, he has this horrible end to his political career. And then, we know, so Missouri Territory, we're carving it out. We've got homes, we've got businesses, we've got saloons, but everything is spread out. You got to go through these, walk through the woods, and there's a good distance in between locations, right? So that this one night, these two men who are all live in the territory as well are leaving a saloon, and it's late at night. It's pitch black. They've got their lanterns, see the way, but it's dark outside. And as they're making their way home, they're talking and they're making their way through the woods together on the way home, out in the darkness, they hear two pops. Two gunshots go off, not far from them out in the woods, in the dark. And it's a what in the holy hell is happening here type of scenario. Who is firing and shooting out, this hour of the night in the dark? They go to investigate, and what they find is Meriwether Lewis. Shot once in the chest, and shot once in the head, dead. Now, there's two stories to the end of his life. One of them sounds far-fetched from the beginning. You're like, oh, heck no, that's not possible, but go with me here. One of the accounts obviously says that he was murdered because he was found with the shot to the heart or chest, shot to the head, shot to the chest, shot to the chest, shot to the head, and there was no gun. As in, somebody shot him and ran. Which makes sense, okay. The other says it was suicide because there was a shot to the chest, a shot to the head. There was a gun laying not far from his hand. And it's easy to go, oh, hang on. Not so much, no. But do not forget and keep in mind, people, the inaccuracy of guns in this day and age. Per se, so if he decided he was going to go out there to commit suicide, he wanted to go shoot himself in the chest, while there was a bullet hole here. That gun could have ricocheted, that bullet could have gone up. He realizes he's not killed himself. He's injured, but he's not dead. So he picks up the gun, puts it to his head, and pulls the trigger. That is, in that day and age, a realistic possibility. But there's both accounts. I mean, there's two accounts. There's both accounts. We do not know which one holds more clout. So there's half the people out there that say he committed suicide. There's another half that says he was murdered. If he was murdered, who did he meet and why was he there? Even if he committed suicide, why was he there? We never know. It's interesting, right? It's interesting stuff, just saying. But regardless, he down spirals, right? He completely down spirals after returning home. Clark, on the other hand, kind of thrives. He's going to thrive. He's going to completely figure it out. Jefferson gives him about 1,400 acres of land as well, but also, so he gets the same amount of land, but then he's also named the Brigadier General of the Louisiana Territory, which is a military position. It's something that he's very qualified for, very capable of handling. And he thrives in. He's already a second lieutenant, right? I don't get too far ahead of myself here. I'm going back to Jefferson. Anywho, so he thrives. But after Jefferson steps down, President Madison assumes the presidency. He's going to up one up. Clark goes from being not only the Brigadier General of the Louisiana Territory, he goes to being the governor of the entire Louisiana Territory. I said Louisiana, good God. Missouri Territory, that sounds way better. Goes to being the governor, Missouri Territory. And he doesn't have any experience either, politically, but he figures it out. Unlike Lewis, he works well with the people, he works well together, and he just figures it out, right? So he shines as governor of the Missouri Territory. And then years later, under President Monroe, not only is he the Brigadier General of the territory, he's the governor, but now he's also will be named on top of that the Superintendent of Indian Affairs, and he's raising Sacagawea's 2 children, right? So he kind of has this great end to his life, to where he just continues to shine and to rise above and rise to the top and accomplish it all. And when he passes away, which he passes away in 1820. His health just deteriorates. Nothing crazy. He just, his health goes downhill, and he'll pass away from natural causes for the most part. I mean, he's got congestive heart failure, etc., etc. But you get the point. Nothing crazy. So, he'll just kind of decline in his health, and he'll pass away. But while one man may have had crazy ending to his life, another has a great end to their life. Together, they did the Louisiana Purchase together. We would not have be able to settle it and create and continue to grow and expand our country the way we did without both of them together, right? So the two men have to set this precedent, set the path, and set the door for Jefferson to be reelected. Because again, 1804, he is reelected. And don't forget, it was basically a war to get a president the first time, right? It was an absolute battle to come out on top of the president in 1800. 1804, guys, it's a damn landslide. He wins. He goes up against, oh, good gosh. Charles Penneke. Charles Penneke of South Carolina. Again, that name might sound familiar part of the Constitutional Convention, etc., etc. But he goes up against Charles Pennegy for election in 1804. And we might as well have just not had an election. I mean, again, I told you last time, I mean, he wins by 162 to 14 of votes. I mean, just a freaking landslide. Because he's been phenomenal. He's been the best first-term president to this day. Yes, he's the third. Still one of the best first-term presidents of all time. And so he gets reelected very, very easily. But it's not long before what happened to Washington in his second term. How he... he had this great first term, and then he just down spiraled in a second. The same will happen to Jefferson. Because while Jefferson has been phenomenal, he is not the right type of man to be in office during war. And unfortunately, this war between Britain and France is going to catch back up to us, per se. There is this brief moment in time, right around the time of the Louisiana Purchase, per se. There was this brief moment in time, long story short, when the war between Britain and France almost came to an end, right? There was a ceasefire, both countries were talking peace. Then we have the Louisiana Purchase, which makes Britain nervous, so when we're hoping this thing is coming to an end, Britain and France will find peace, this thing will officially be over. But unfortunately, that is not to be. That is not to be. Peace talks fall through. Both countries end up going back to war. And again, the question is, what is America going to do? Because both countries are now pulling for America to re-enter the war once again. And it's pretty evenly matched, to be quite honest. If you look at it from this point in 1803, 1804, going into Jefferson's second term, Napoleon is one of the greatest military powers in the world in this point. I mean, he's one of the greatest of all time, especially in this situation. The French are controlling the war by land. But Britain's got the greatest navy in the world. And Britain is absolutely dominating this war by sea. So it's very, very evenly matched. And both of them, in the early stages of this thing, both countries have been reaping the rewards of doing business with the United States. Because, again, Jefferson was willing to do business with anybody. We're going to remain neutral in action, but anybody who wanted to do business with the United States was open. We were open for it, and both countries have been racking that up, right? But, I don't get too far ahead of myself here. Oh, geez, I won't get too far ahead of myself here. That's right. Okay, so what we're going to see, however, is eventually, but after the Louisiana Purchase, Britain is obviously going to feel we are very, very much more in favor of France. We claim to be neutral, before peace talks, before the Louisiana Purchase, have been very, very evenly matched. We've been very evenly sparred, doing a lot of business with both sides. After the Louisiana Purchase, Britain takes that as a sign that how can we not favor France at this part? How can we not join the war on France's behalf at this point? And Britain's nervous. Britain's nervous that the relationship between the United States and France just got very, very tight very, very quickly. We're going to enter the war on France's behalf. And Britain is going to respond. Britain is going to send a message to the United States about how, hey, you want to come after us, we're ready for you, right? You want us to come get us, we're going to get you before you get us. And Britain will start to attack American ships at sea, sending a message to a country that they are convinced is fixing to join this war on France's behalf. Now, we weren't. But again, there's every person has their own side to every story, right? And to Britain, it sure did look like we were fixing to. We did, France and the United States had just done this great deal. They seem to be buddy-buddy. Surely we're fixing we can't say no to getting into this war and aid France. So Britain's going to come after us before we join this war on the side of France and come after them, right? Make sense? So they're going to start to attack American ships at sea, to attack our crew. Instead of doing business with the with the United States, they're going to attack our ships and smuggle our goods. They're going to start to attack our ships and steal from us instead, sending us a pretty vibrant message. Well, the more ships that they do attack and the more goods they do steal, people are going to be knocking on the door of the Oval Office going, President Jefferson, you need to respond. This is not good. This is not cool. We can't just let this sleeping dog freaking lie. We need to respond. We need to do something. What do you have in mind? Because we have got to respond to this. To which Jefferson says, oh my dear God, I don't freaking know. He's not going to do anything. Technically. Now, I say that very broadly. Because of course he's going to contact Britain. Of course he's going to politically try to get through to them. And politically he's going to try and handle this. But he doesn't do what he should. He does not handle this militarily. He doesn't send any messages. And to Britain, he might as well not be doing anything. It's kind of like he's like, knock it off, per se. He doesn't do what he should to send a message and impact Britain whatsoever. So they will continue doing what they were doing. They're getting away with it. We're not stopping them. So over the next several years, Britain will attack and steal the goods, it will attack over 6,000 American ships, smuggle and steal all of that good, and the more ships they attack, the more the knocking on the door of the Oval Office gets to pounding, and I don't want to pound because my dogs will think I'm knocking and start barking. So looking at the other door, my front door. Anywho, but the more Britain ups the ante, the more Jefferson does nothing. And then Britain takes it even to another level. Not only are they attacking American ships, not only are they stealing and smuggling our goods, but now they're going to start to force all of the sailors on the ships they attack. They're going to take them as prisoners of war and force them to fight alongside the British. There's this concept called impressment, which basically all crew members on ships attacked will be taken, seized by the British, and forced to fight the war against France for Britain. As prisoners of war, you will fight for my country against my enemy, which is France, right? It's called impressment. And to Britain, they have a reasoning behind this. Because again, as we cry foul, Britain says, you know what? You should be fighting this thing alongside of us anyway. You go back all those years ago when you turned your, like if you hadn't abandoned your country back in the 1700s, if you hadn't turned your back on England, if you hadn't declared yourself independent, if you hadn't fought a war and won your independence, if you hadn't turned your back on us, if you hadn't left us, you would still be British. If you hadn't betrayed us, you would be sitting right here beside me anyway as a British citizen. So since you're the ones who betrayed us and attacked us and left us, you should be fine. We feel that you should be. We feel like you turned your back on us. What's wrong with us making you fight this war alongside us? We think it's just you're just desserts, right? That is their reasoning behind it and their justification of it. So not only, and if we say no, they kill us. So now, not only does Jefferson not do anything when British attack our ships, Jefferson does nothing when British attack our ships and steal our goods. Jefferson does nothing when they attack our ships, steal our goods, and imprison our crew, forcing them to fight for the British. And then Jefferson does nothing when they attack our ships, steal our goods, smuggle our goods, imprison our crew, having them fight for the British. And if we absolutely say no, the British kill us. Jefferson's not handling the decisions well at all. He's not taking means to fight back. He's not stopping them. He's in this fetal position under the Oval Office desk, just hoping and praying this whole thing goes away. Right? He's not the right man to be in office in this type of dire military situation. He's not built for it. He's not built to be president in time of war, when it actually does touch us and reach us and impact us. He's just doesn't have that mind. So he comes up with an idea, right? He comes up with this idea. He finally there's more and more pressure on him to solve the situation. And finally he goes, oh, I got it. I got it. He comes up with his plan of peaceful coercion. He's going to place an embargo on an economic embargo on both countries. I have a quote. Yep. Hoping to avoid military conflict with Britain and France at this point, Jefferson proposed a policy of peaceful coercion. He ordered that an embargo be constructed, which would cut off trade with Britain and France, and stated, our commerce is so valuable to them, they will be glad to purchase it when the only price we ask is justice. if we completely cut all business off with Britain, that'll send them a message like, holy crap, America's not playing around. And Britain needs American goods. Britain needs to do business with us to stay alive in this war. And if we completely cut them off at the gap and say, we're not doing one more cent of business with you at all until you quit attacking us, but we also do the exact same thing to France, and it'll show Britain we're not loyal to France. We're not fixing to get into this war on the side of France. If we do this equally and we cut both sides off and quit doing business with them, business that both sides vitally need to be doing to staying alive in this war, it'll send everybody a message, A, and B, it'll prove to Britain we're not loyal to anybody. C, we won't do any business with them if they keep attacking us. They'll all figure it out. Our commerce, our business, our goods are so critical that Britain will quit attacking us when the only price we ask is justice. Quit attacking us, we'll lift the embargo. Things go back to normal, right? I guess that makes sense some way, somehow, somewhere in Jefferson's scientific geeky little mind. What's the problem with it, though? Britain says, fine. We don't need to do any business with you. We're already smuggling your shit or your goods, attacking your ships, stealing your goods. You don't want to sell to us? Fine. We'll just attack more ships and steal more goods. We'll take everything we need for free. Sounds good to us, right? Instead of having the imposed meaning of, oh crap, look, they're doing it to France too. They must not be fixing to join this thing on the side of France. Maybe we were completely wrong. We should just back off and do the right thing and go back to doing business with them, right? No, they're like, fine, we'll just smuggle and steal more of your goods and take it for free. Works for us. And then you have France over here going, whoa, what in the holy crap did we do? I'm pretty sure, I thought we were friends here. I'm pretty sure we just doubled the size of your damn country and gave you a pretty damn gift. And now you're going to just cut us off? Screw freaking you, right? Fine. We'll do what Britain's doing. We'll just attack your ships at sea and we'll smuggle your goods too. And we'll just steal from you as well. Two can play that game. So this embargo went on to hurt who? Us. We completely cut them off, and they continue to steal from us. So where are my numbers? Yeah, American exports fall from 108 million in 1807 to 22 million in 1808. Hashtag damn. Almost $100 million the American economy lost from business not done with just those two countries. While they're smuggling and stealing what they need to see. That didn't work, Jefferson. Try again. Be more military, official. Be more aggressive, right? Be aggressive. Be aggressive. No, not so much. His mind didn't work that way. And so by the time his second term comes to an end, no, he does try it. Maybe I kind of bashed on him a little bit here. He did try. He sat back and just did nothing and was like, oh, well. He did try. It was like Hoover during the Depression. It just wasn't near enough, and it wasn't aggressive leadership, and it wasn't a job well done. It just wasn't. He, bless his heart, he tried the best he knew how with the purest of intentions. He just wasn't the right man to handle that type of situation. He couldn't fix it. He didn't know how to fix it. And he puts this country basically in a depression over well-meaning but wrong decisions. So his second term comes to an end. You think we're going to reelect him? Hell no. Dear God, no. And he knows it. He is very well aware of the fact we're not going to reelect him. That's a done no-brainer. So he's not even going to try to run for a third term. He is going to willingly step down. And when he does, but no, he's going to openly says, hey, I blanked up here. I screwed up. This is my bad. This is on me. So I'm not even going to ask you to reelect me. I'm going to graciously step down. However, I sure would like, as I step down, for you to consider who I think would be the appropriate person to replace me. And that is my vice president. That would be Mr. 1, James Madison. Now, Madison is Republican. He has been vice president under Jefferson the last 4 years. Because don't forget, in 1804, Jefferson could officially pick his vice president, right? So, this is Jefferson dropped Aaron Burr from his ticket. Burr no longer had to be his vice president. Jefferson could choose who he wanted, so he dropped Burr. He picked up James Madison. And so he says, as I step down, I would like for you to replace me and elect James Madison, who, yes, he is a Republican. He holds the same values and the same standards I do. But he's also way, 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 way more aggressive than me. Madison fought in the Revolution. Way, way, way more aggressive than me. He is a go-getter. He holds the traits that I don't. He can do the job that I couldn't. And Madison's very qualified. Madison is absolutely qualified. But don't forget about it. Again, part of the Revolution. Architect of the Constitution. Drafted the Bill of Rights. Was Secretary of... served in Congress first. Then was Secretary of State. Then was for Secretary of State in Jefferson's first term. Vice President during his second term. Very, very qualified. Very well versed in the matter. Been around since day one. Much, got all those Republican ideals his country loved Jefferson for, but very much more a go-getter. And the Federalists are like, Jefferson has screwed this thing up so badly, we are absolutely getting a Federalist back in office. There is no, the Federalists are like doing the happy dance. Like, there is no way this country will re-elect another freaking Republican. Hell no. It's our chance to get back in office. So, Madison steps up as a Republican candidate. Oh, I don't even think I have it on here, do I? Yep, I don't even have it on here. I can't even tell you who their Federalist candidate was. But, Madison walks. When the numbers come in, the Federalist jaws drop. Because he comes in and wins with 122 votes to 47. Securing his spot as the 4th president of the United States. Again, holy freaking crap. Just throwing that out there. By the way, we will never have another Federalist president. The Federalist Party is dying out. They are a dying breed. We will never have another Federalist president. But we will quickly see the rise of a new political party known as the Democrats. This is where they kick in, people. We're fixing to see we'll see the death of the Federalist Party and the birth of the Republican Party. And we'll see how Madison handles the situation along with Monroe. But that is a good stopping spot for this part. Again, Chapter 9, Part 2 is 3 lectures long. So we will end here, and then we will conclude Chapter 9, Part 2 with the presidencies of Madison and Monroe when I see you guys next time. So have yourselves a fantastic evening, and I'll see you soon.